Good evening, and welcome to episode 26 of Swiss Army Sports. Today is the last day of November, 11/30/25. Again, as aforementioned, episode 26. Joined by my side is my co-host, former offensive lineman for Hendrix College, Luke Wallman. Joining us virtually is former kicker for the Houston Christian Huskies and Troy Trojans, Chase Cross, and I am your host, former long snapper for the Troy Trojans, Sun Belt Conference champions, also P Governors, and partially Houston Cougars. We're going to recap Week 14 of college football after we get into this coaching carousel mayhem we woke up to this morning, which, we were getting rolling early. We broke the news of one team's coach to one of their players.
Yeah.
Accidentally. He did not know Ryan Silverfield was going to Arkansas, but we let him know. I was like, do you have a team meeting this morning? And he goes, yeah, actually, why? And I go, you don't know? So, yeah, that was kind of awkward. Dogs of the week from this past week in Week 14 college football, our Swiss Army Sports top 25 CFB predictions for what we think the committee will do in this penultimate bracket release. On the bubble, talk a little bit of the bubble, which has gotten a little bit, not even a little bit, way more clear after this week. Even though, there is still some unpredictability of how the committee's going to see it. A lot is going to be said on Tuesday about how this entire playoff is going to shape up. Mount Rushmore is going to continue. We're going to do 8 of these. This is number 3. Mount Rushmore of months of the year. It's going to be an intense draft. Yeah, we're going to, and this is a sports podcast, so you got to take sports into account with the month. NFL Week 13 recap, another good week in the NFL, especially if you are a Cowboys fan. NFL teams of the week and teams that are weak with our Monday Night Football preview and best bets. And we'll look at for the first time this year, the NFL playoff picture is starting to shape up to where we actually have some, decent knowledge of who's in the hunt and who's not. College basketball picks recap, Swiss Army Sports College Basketball Top 25 will be released again. Premier League check-in. We did not go over it last episode like we planned on because Chase was having some technical difficulties, but our soccer expert, Chase Cross, is going to help me break down the Premier League table and some standout performers and what we think is going to happen in terms of, relegation, Champions League, what's the other one, Chase? Help me out here. The UEFA Euro Cup or whatever.
So there's going to be also
League.
the Europa League as well. So we'll probably talk about those spots, and then obviously the Conference League, which teams will make that as well.
League. That's the one I was forgetting about. Yep. And then best of the weekend as we end every weekend episode. So let's get right into what we really, I think, is the highlight of today's episode. We all woke up to a bunch of notifications on our phones this morning that all mayhem let loose in the college football coaching world. And we got a lot better picture of what next season is going to look like for a lot of these programs who had moved on from their head coach. Let's kick it off with the one that just rubbed everyone a little bit the wrong way if you're a certain fan base. But, as a State fan who just got beat in the Egg Bowl, I've rubbed me all the right ways. Yeah, a little pause there. But Lane Kiffin, former head coach at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, Ole Piss, is heading to Bayou Country, LSU. Now, we gave a grade for each of these coaching moves. Mine was an A-, and the only reason it's an A- is because the way it was handled kind of ended up backfiring on him. He's not going to get to retain as much staff as he originally probably anticipated because of all the crap that went down with him, like giving an ultimatum to his staff. He was able to keep his offensive coordinator and his strength staff and some other position coaches, but Pete Golding, his DC, is the new head coach, permanent head coach at Ole Miss. So he's not going to get to keep Pete Golding. Now, I don't know if Ole Miss's defense was exactly their strong suit.
Wasn't he the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country?
And so, hold on. Listen to this now. Keith Carter, athletic director of Ole Miss, has actually gone out to pledge, if you stay at Ole Miss as a position coach or, all these personnel, if you stay at Ole Miss under Pete Golding, he will double your salary. Which essentially makes it the highest paid assistant coach payroll in the country. So that's why I gave it an A-. Other than that, Lane Kiffin's going to kill at LSU. So, it's a great hire for LSU. However, I just don't think the amount of portal moves he could have had from Ole Miss LSU, as well as the staff from Ole Miss LSU, it was not maximized in the way it could have been because of the way things were handled. Look, you went with an A here.
Yeah, best coach in the cycle. I mean, it's not an A+ strictly because of the shenanigans. And I mean, you're a grown man. I thought it was very childish, but it's also very Lane Kiffin. So, I mean, it's a great hire. He should excel at LSU like we thought Brian Kelly was, but I think he'll do really well at LSU.
Chase, you went with an A as well.
Yeah, I honestly would have probably given this an A+, just, considering he was the best coach in the cycle, but I thought the way he handled his departure from Ole Miss pretty poorly. And then you also have to consider it is Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin hasn't lasted longer than 5 years at any school in the country, and I know that he's going to kill at LSU. I mean, LSU is going to be in recent memory, this is probably the best coach that LSU has had. I mean, maybe in the last 15 years. So,
yeah, since Saban, 100%.
Since Saban, 100%.
I want to piggyback off what you just said there. He has not lasted more than 5 years anywhere as the head coach. As soon as Kalen DeBoer is fired from Alabama, I'm pretty sure we all know where Lane Kiffin is going to be the next head coach at. He is going to be he is the head coach in waiting at Alabama. And part of me makes me think, LSU is definitely more comparable to Alabama as a athletic department and football program than Ole Miss. Was this a move to essentially get him ready to how to manage Alabama as a head coach? Maybe. That may be looking like a little bit too far into it, because LSU is with boosters and the money is a different beast than Ole Miss is, but a lot more comparable to the University of Alabama than Ole Miss is. Maybe this is like one of those rare mini stepping stones that he wanted to take from Ole Miss to LSU to Alabama. Again, DeBoer may kill it, may win the national championship this year, and then all of that goes out the window. But that was a little bit thought in the back of my mind of why he would want to make this move from Ole Miss to LSU.
I saw something. I'm pretty sure the max salary for a head coach from the state of Mississippi is like $1 million. And I don't think that's at all the case in Louisiana. So he's got a lot more access, like you said, the funds within the state, plus the boosters and everything, and the recruits. I mean, half the LSU recruits aren't, I don't think they've decommitted since Kelly left. You're going for LSU. You don't have kids, unless you're from Oxford, that go to Ole Miss to go to Ole Miss.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, my favorite, honestly, hire of this entire cycle, Florida. And it's John Sumrall moving from Tulane to Florida. If you were to look on Twitter, you'd think Florida fans would have hired Ryan Silverfield, by the way they were reacting to this, because, understandably, they got burned by Billy Napier, who was from the same conference, but he didn't have the run Sumrall had. Here's what Florida fans need to realize, and the only reason I didn't give it an A+, because it is a G5 to SEC direct move, and you never know how that actually is going to pander out. But let me talk to you about my former head coach. We were his first head coaching gig at Troy. He won the Sun Belt Conference twice at Troy. Back-to-back years, he was Sun Belt Conference champions. He has been to the conference title game all 4 years of his head coaching tenure, both at Troy and Tulane.
He did. I didn't think he went last year.
Yes, he did. He just couldn't get in the playoff.
Yeah.
Tulane, he has gone now back-to-back at the American, as at Troy. It is rare you get someone to go to 4 conference title games in a row in his first 4 years of being a head coach. I don't care where you're doing it at. Florida has an absolute home run hire. John can recruit. He is a hell of a defensive-minded coach. He is he wins players over so easily, able to control the locker room. Everybody's bought into the message. Home run hire for Florida. Love Sumrall. Only reason it's not an A+ is because it's G5 to SEC. Luke, you have an A.
Yeah, no, I have an A as well. I think he was the third best coach in the cycle. I would probably put him just below Franklin, just because Franklin has been at the top of the top of the Big Ten, so he's got that establishment. But I mean, I love Summerall. I did think it was kind of weird we left Troy, that he went to Tulane, just because I felt like that was not lateral.
Yeah,
it was a tiny bit step up, but
and I want to let you know why. I mean, there was like a $3.5 million a year pay increase. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that makes sense. But it was. I honestly did not think he'd go to Florida. I thought him and Golesh should be flipped, just because
It made so much more sense
'cause-
recruiting wise.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know, and the Florida ties already, but I think they got a great head coach. It's going to be interesting to see just who all leaves. If he brings people from Tulane, does the BYU guy still have a?
Red Life, I don't know.
Because I mean, that if Lagway does end up leaving, I mean that could be a guy you bring in that could at least be a solid starter for year one.
I think this was a hire that would be good enough to keep Lagway. But
Yeah.
Chase, what do you think? You gave it an A.
I thought Summerall was probably, in terms of risers or in terms of coaches that you think are going to continue to grow and continue to turn into maybe a great coach, I think John Summerall's that guy. I think he is, I mean, you look at what he's done, what he did at Troy in his first 2 years at Troy, what he did at Tulane in his first 2 years at Tulane. I think Florida's going to have the same trajectory. He has so much resources there. Florida's been aching for a good coach. And I don't really understand the whole narrative that Gator fans are upset about this hire. If you look at what Billy Napier did, it is not the same as what John Summerall's did.
Not even close.
Not even close. So I'm not understanding why they're, not thrilled with this hire. Why I didn't give it an A plus. I feel like they almost settled for John Summerall instead of going after and getting him first. They clearly wanted Lane Kiffin, got spurned by Kiffin, and kind of settled on John Summerall. If I think, if I thought John Summerall was their guy from the jump, this would have been an A plus hire. But, I think they probably ended up with the right guy. I think he will honestly do better at Florida than even Lane Kiffin would have done there.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. Moving on is, I think, and this was my, 1B to John Summerall being 1A. Me and Luke have been hyping this dude up for the entirety this podcast has been in existence. Alex Golesh at USF is making the move to Auburn. USF doesn't even have a on-campus stadium. They play in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium. It used to be half empty. USF was a cesspool, dumpster fire, bottom of the American team. And Alex Golesh built this program up into where they were in the college football playoff conversation for 75% of this year. Now, the reason it's an A-, he lost some key games for USF this year. Was it technically coaching? I don't think so. I just don't think Golesh had the players at USF to be able to put like a 11-1, 12-0 season together. I don't care who you win and beat. It's tough. It's really hard to win 11 or 12 games. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It's, football's football, college football's college football. It's hard, and it has to be earned each week to go out and win a game, no matter who you're playing. However, USF torched teams this year. Their defense was incredible. With the resources he will have at Auburn, as well as the player pool he will have in the state of Alabama, as well as, Deuce Knight and the players, he can make Deuce Knight 5 times the quarterback Byron Brown was. And it's kind of like the exact same quarterback, too. So I'm really excited to see what Alex Golesh did to Auburn. I think it's an A-, 100% great hire. Luke, you had B, a little bit less optimistic than me.
I have B just because, Summerall's got the winning pedigree. And I think him and Silverfield, the terms of winning, Golesh is better. I think he's an outstanding coordinator. I think he's a great offense coordinator. But I've been getting all this stuff on Twitter because obviously I'm on Memphis Twitter today. But Alex Golesh against teams above 500 in the American is 1-7. So over his whole tenure there. So I think that's something. And what else? Teams finishing with a losing record is 12-3. He beats the teams he should, but some of those games they lost to Memphis this year, which is a game I think they really should have won. They blew a 17-point lead.
Field goal too.
So,
yeah.
But they blew a 17-point lead in the fourth, and that's why I think it's a B. I think he's a great coordinator. I think he's a great recruiter. It's just the head coaching, I will say, is not all there yet. But also, I didn't know he was from Russia.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty dope.
I
yeah.
I didn't know that. I saw that on Twitter today too. But I think it's a B.
Chase, B+.
I kind of want to piggyback off what Luke said. I don't think he has the same pedigree that, Summerall has and has had.
He doesn't.
I love Alex Golesh. He was one of my favorite coaches, and I figured with USF's start to this season, he wasn't going to be there next season. Just at the beginning of the year with the success that they had, obviously beating a big-time program like Florida and being in a lot of games, even giving Miami a decent game. So, I've been very high, and I love what he's done with USF, like you said, well, the resources at USF are minuscule compared to what he has at Auburn. But the other thing we have to consider is this is a massive step up, even bigger than a jump from like Tulane to Florida. USF to Auburn is a massive step up, and Auburn fans are ruthless. They're not going to give him the time that he really needs to kind of figure it out as a head coach. And like Luke said, I don't know if he necessarily has it all figured out yet. So that being said, that's why I did give it a B plus. I like the hire. I think it's a good hire for Auburn, but we just saw what happened with Hugh Freeze. I don't know if he's established enough to potentially, bring back Auburn. And I think Summerall would have probably been a better fit. And I think they wanted Summerall, and Summerall just ended up going where he probably got the better deal. So that's why I'm going to give this one a B plus.
From what I was hearing, inside sources, that Summerall was offered like $3 million more a year at Florida than he was Auburn. Auburn just didn't have the money for John Summerall, but they had the money for Alex Golesh. I do think for both programs, though, flip these hires, and I think they would have both been A pluses. I think they would have both been in their neck of the woods. John Summerall has recruited Alabama before. He's recruited that Mid-South area before, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee. I think he would have excelled very well at Auburn. I think he'll kill it at Florida. But I do think Alex Golesh moving in-state would have made so much more sense. I mean, USF to Florida keeps kind of like you can keep those top level of recruits. You had USF to come be like, rotation guys at Auburn, and then you can like really heavy down. Oh, leg spike. You can really hammer down that Florida recruiting area if you were Alex Golesh staying in Sunday. There it is. Finally, we have the hire none of us were very big on. None of us. This kind of very caught me off guard this morning, especially after the way Memphis ended the season.
Yeah.
Ryan Silverfield, head coach of the 8-4 Memphis Tigers, is going to Arkansas. Now, this is absolutely, I have it as a C. One, I do think Ryan Silverfield's a good coach.
Yeah.
I do not think Memphis necessarily losing the games that they have lost over his tenure there are necessarily coaching or Ryan Silverfield's fault. It just is kind of what Memphis does as an athletic program. They get to where they should be, basketball too, and then they kind of fall short. Am I comparing Ryan to Penny? No. Penny is 3 times the recruiter Ryan Silverfield is, as well as...
He's also not 3 times the coach. So it's like one's one,
yeah,
one's the other.
Ryan Silverfield maybe 3 times the coach Penny Hardaway is. So it goes hand in hand. I am on the side of this as a C because I think Arkansas settled heavily. I'm also on the side of it's not a D because Ryan Silverfield with Walmart, Jerry Jones, the resources, Tyson at Arkansas is a good enough football coach and recruiter to make Arkansas competitive in the SEC again. Now, the SEC is getting a little crowded. It's not a lot of room for error. Clark Lee just got a 6-year extension. I don't think, especially if they get that kid to flip from Georgia to Vanderbilt,
I
don't think Vanderbilt's going anywhere. You have the beautiful city of Nashville. Anyway, we're not bringing down Vanderbilt as much as I would love to. It's a C hire. They settled. But I think Arkansas fans will be much more pleased with this move in the long run if they give Silverfield the time to build his program at Arkansas. What bothered me was all these Memphis fans rejoicing that he was gone. I don't know what Memphis is going to do from here to be able to maintain the level of success they've had in the American and potentially jump to a power conference like they want to as a athletic department without Ryan Silverfield or, it used to be Mike Norvell or Justin Fuente. So they've done this before, but the only thing that concerns me is that Silverfield was an internal hire. So they haven't.
Silverfield was on staff, what's his face first staff.
Yeah.
He was with like Dan Lanning, who's the Arizona State coach, blanking.
Dillingham.
Yeah, he was also on that staff. That staff was loaded.
Yeah, it's the first time Memphis kind of has to go in a coat for a while. Yeah. Luke, you had to see.
I think in comparison with Arkansas and everybody on this board, I think he's a C. I don't think he's as good as a coordinator, obviously, as Golesh. He's got kind of the same winning track record that Golesh has. This year. It was a good win for Memphis to beat Arkansas.
100%.
SEC program. But then you turn around, and I get quarterback out here, you lose to UAB. and then you go and you lose to ECU. I mean, that you just like, I mean, Memphis, if he's going to be this like top coach, you got to be able to like win those games. And like, it's obviously it's not all his fault, but it's all going to fall back on him. He could have the best team or the worst team in the SEC, and he could win one game, and they'll all point at him. They won't point at the roster.
No, 100%.
So, and another thing, I don't think it can really get worse than what it is right now.
That is true.
With Pittman, they literally haven't won an SEC game since I think Sam Wilson was like a sophomore or maybe a freshman or so. It's been
a couple of years.
It's been a while. So I honestly, and I think he's a good coach. It's just I will say Memphis has become accustomed to be one of the more power like
G5 teams.
Group of 5 teams, and I think a bunch of people are also pissed because we spend the second most in NIL, and we just go and drop some of these games. And I think he's a good coach if he's got a good culture. I mean, he's got to look at everyone on that Norvell staff. They've all turned out really well. I think he'll do fine, but I do think Arkansas kind of settled.
I think this could totally end up being like a Kenny Dillingham kind of hire at Arizona State. That absolutely ends up being out of nowhere home run hire. Chase,
I think he's from Arkansas too.
Yes, he is. So. Chase, you are way less optimistic than the guys that live in Memphis. You're a D+. Tell me why you hate Ryan Silverfield.
Well, I'm going to start off by prefacing that prior to Ryan Silverfield's tenure at Memphis, that Memphis team had just gone to the Cotton Bowl. So you're at a peak 12 wins. That's a really good football team, right? Ever since inheriting that team, he has not been in 6 seasons. He's not been to an American Athletic title game in a conference where Memphis is by far has the most resources and is the best program in that conference. He's also 12-20 against above 500 opponents. 12-20. Now, if you look at what the SEC is, this just as a conference as a whole, most of those teams are going to be above 500. You're going to be playing the best of the best. And Arkansas, comparatively to all these other programs, has a lot less resources. I think that, a good hire for Arkansas would have been somebody like James Franklin or somebody, if Mike Norvell's to leave Florida State or something like that were to happen, just get more of an established name that could bring in those high-profile recruits to compete in the SEC. Because you look at what they're having to compete with, if you look at just their nearby rivals, Texas A&M, schools like that, they're nowhere in the same ballpark as those two programs are right now. And this hire just kind of reads, maybe we're more focused on being a basketball school with Coach Caller being a baseball school. We're not as focused as in winning in football, and we're okay. Somebody in the SEC has to lose games. And I felt like that's kind of what this hire spoke to me, because Ryan Silverfield, he's gotten Memphis at, to where they're a good football team. He's put good rosters together, but they continue to year in, year out to lose big games in big time moments, and they just can't quite get over that hump.
And that's why a bunch of the Memphis fans, because obviously they're winning 9 games, 8 games a year. I'm not gonna be threat, because I'd much rather do that than do what Arkansas does and win 3 games. But some of these people I kind of get their frustrations. You're projected year in and year out the best team in the American. You have the most financial resources, maybe outside of Tulane in the American in North Texas, and you constantly lose games that you really should not lose. Like Charlie said it best yesterday when we were talking. Just wait. Arkansas is going to play someone really good early. They're going to beat them, and you're going to be on cloud 9. Then you're going to go lose to say a South Carolina or some bottom feeder team you should not lose to, and that is just how Ryan Silverfield's been at Memphis. So
fair enough. We kind of called this one a while ago, though.
Yeah.
But he was going to go to Arkansas. We never kind of talked like we were idiots by some certain people we know.
No,
suck it. Same thing on Lane Kiffin, by the way. We said this shit 2 weeks ago on Swiss Army Sports. Y'all told us we were crazy. Certain people, suck it. We were, basically along those lines. We know we have more resources than a lot of y'all do. Certain people that follow this podcast and losing our bets. You don't have the resources we have, Romo. You don't have the resources we have, Kenner. So don't, Picks of the week. It was a big week, and there was absolutely no movement on the leaderboard. The Egg Bowl on Friday went about as poorly as I possibly could have wanted it to when I was there. Started out well, I guess. Kamario, I will say this, and Luke's the only one that got this one right. He got Ole Miss. Everybody else said State. Kamario Taylor is a dog. I'm just going to let y'all know that right now. And first off, the surprise start at quarterback after I said he was going to be the dog, he was going to be the player that pops off this week. He played great. State just had no answer on defense. Number 15, I don't even know his name. Hope he enters the portal because he just continually got picked on. 3 of those touchdowns were scored on one corner. One corner. Are you kidding me? We couldn't make an adjustment. Maybe go to recover high safety. Give him a little bit of help. Nah, dude. I'm going to let him get burned on the outside. Yeah, please find his name so I can call him out.
Number what?
15.
No, it's not him.
Javen Williams of Mobile, Alabama. You know we have dogs of the week? Your ass of the week, brother. Ass end of this program.
He was at Kennesaw State last year.
Yeah, makes sense. Georgia survived. We were all on Georgia. Georgia survived against Georgia Tech in a very low-scoring defensive affair. Georgia Tech, this was their last gasp to try to do something this year to maybe where they could kind of –
Solid game.
Yeah, it was a solid game and just didn't have enough going for them. This is where I know our partner from Texas will probably pop into the podcast. Well, 3 of us were on A&M. Chase was on Texas. And
let us hear it.
Let us hear it.
Well, I'm just gonna say that Texas A&M is forever gonna be little brother in the state of Texas. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They, with everything, every sport, anything they try to do, it's a cult school. It's, if you can't get into University of Texas, you go to Texas A&M. They're always the second option, second in everything. So coming into this game, obviously Texas has not had the season that everybody thought coming in. A&M been on a roll, but if you start looking at the metrics in between the lines, and if you've watched Texas A&M play and watched Texas play as much as I have, you see that everything that makes A&M good, that's what Texas is good at. Like if we're talking about stopping the run in between the tackles, which A&M absolutely was abusing at the start of the season with Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens. I mean, Texas, that's one of Texas's main things on their defense. So already had a feeling that they would be able to slow him down. Marcel Reed, if you watched him play all season, has had some really good moments, but has also shown some incredible inconsistencies, as has Arch Manning. But Arch Manning had played more consistently over the last 4 weeks. Through the first half, I thought A&M was going to run away with the game, but I don't know what happened at halftime, flipped the switch, and Texas just came out and dominated, the number 3 team in the country. So it was definitely a statement win. Do I think this gets them in the playoff? I don't know, but I was definitely saw that one coming. So I told y'all so. Y'all called me crazy. Everybody thought that, A&M was finna run away with this one, but you know how it gets.
Enough. Still lost to Florida, so stay out of the playoff.
We'll talk about
that in a second. The Iron Bowl, Bama headed into Jordan Hare. Boy, did the voodoo almost pull it off. The producer really had Bama, and really, Auburn should have won this football game. That makes me have a lot of questions about Alabama heading into the SEC championship game against Georgia. Yeah, however, very happy the school up north will not be heading to their first SEC championship game ever, thanks to Auburn not being able to win the Iron Bowl. Yeah, look, Auburn's going to be all right. They're going to be okay. The game, Ohio State, snow, a great football atmosphere here, by the way.
Yeah.
Snow was falling in the big house, and Michigan just really had no answer for Ohio State this weekend. It was, and here's the thing, Michigan's a decent football team this year. I mean, they're a solid football team. This was just, it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. It was just, they were so, once a team, 2 teams of this caliber, if one team wins so many years in a row, you're just due. And Ohio State was just due.
Heck off that. We lost 9 years in a row. So,
I mean, Ohio
what
State,
you're saying.
State is the better of these two football programs in the last 15 years. Ohio State was so overdue in this rivalry that the fact that they went out here and basically dominated and Michigan had no answer, and they couldn't find the end zone. They were field goal merchants.
Which I want to. Did you see the touchdown Jeremiah Smith caught?
I listened to most of
first
this game
one?
on the radio. Full disclosure.
Like, I know I'm obviously. This is me being serious. That was not a touchdown. That was like kind of a huge.
Oh, I heard about this.
That was a huge thing because he catches it, runs into the end zone, it's kind of bobbling it, goes out of bounds. And the rules guy was like, that's a touchback. Well, both the announcers, that's a touchback. They didn't call it a touchback, which, I mean, we still probably would have lost, but that definitely killed a bunch of the momentum towards Michigan. But we're like one of the youngest teams in the Big Ten. I think we're going to be fine next year. I mean, it's kind of funny because you have Michigan Twitter overreacting, saying they need to fire Sharon Moore. And I'm like, that's so stupid. I don't think he's the best like coach like Harbaugh, but I think he's a very good recruiter. But I think we'll be fine. It just sucks that we lost.
100%. Chase, anything to add?
I was just gonna say that, I didn't think Michigan necessarily played too bad. I mean, Ohio State was obviously coming into this game was a more talented team. I thought, through the first half, there were points at time where it really looked like Michigan could have grabbed hold of the game. And like you said, just instead of, scoring touchdowns, kicking field goals, you can't beat the number one team in the country if you're not scoring touchdowns. You can't just go in and kick field goals every drive down there. So I thought Michigan in the first half definitely could have taken over this game. And as the game went on, Ohio State had kind of the superior roster, superior players started taking over. But I agree with you, Luke. That Jeremiah Smith touchdown, it was definitely a shady call. We saw some interesting officiating in the Iron Bowl as well. It kind of makes you wonder about these big conferences protecting, their top teams like with Alabama
100%.
and Ohio State.
You saw it in the Egg Bowl.
And the Egg Bowl too. And we saw it a little bit even Texas A&M, Texas
holding calls on Mississippi State on the defensive side. Yeah,
I listened to it on the radio, and we had the Ole Miss broadcast.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be able to tell, but there was one holding call that even my girlfriend goes, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know."
And
the rest
they didn't call a bunch of holdings in that Auburn game.
Oh, I know.
Like it was kind of bad.
And that pass interference that they called towards the end of the game on that last Alabama drive was absolutely atrocious.
Awful. But shout out Con Knipple and the Knipple family. His uncle was the white hat at the game.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that is crazy.
Suspect. All right. We all picked Pitt.
It was a hard pick.
Freshman quarterback got hurt.
And then
it all fell off the wheels. Miami took care of business. But then we got redeemed because we were all on the greatest team in Tennessee. The Vanderbilt Commodores went into Neyland Stadium and absolutely stomped on their throats. This game was not close. I don't care if it was tied at the half. Vanderbilt turned it over twice deep in Tennessee territory to make this a game in the first half. This score realistically could have been 59-7. Vanderbilt was clear-cut the better football team out of these two football programs. And the fact that Tennessee fans really thought they were just going to stomp over Vanderbilt when they came to Neyland Stadium absolutely rubbed me the wrong way. Vanderbilt, twice the football team that Tennessee is this year, and will be twice the program Tennessee will be in the next 5 years. Thanks to Mr. Clark Lee. Chase, anything to add on the Vandy Doors?
What I wanted to mainly say is, I think Diego Pavia's played phenomenal this season. Don't like how he's handling himself in the media, but, if you're playing that well, you can say pretty much whatever you want. But touching on this game, I mean, Josh Heupel's got to get a defense together at Tennessee at some point. It was like a sieve yesterday. Anything that Vanderbilt wanted to do on offense, they ended up doing. And Vandy's defense came to play in that second half. Obviously being tied at halftime, probably not indicative of how the game went because there were those two picks from Diego Pavia. But, I mean, the offense shut down in the second half, and Tennessee's defense is just absolutely atrocious. And we've seen that now I know Heupel's an offensive coach, but he's got to put a defense together at some point if Tennessee wants to remain competitive in the SEC.
100%. They've got to make a change in DC.
So shout out Pavia's brother. Got arrested.
Again, yes, sir.
Got arrested for
What?
public intoxication.
You gotta love it.
Because apparently he gave the cop a bird when the guy came up because they were pouring beer on people, and he gave the cop the bird, so he arrested him. So
He did that at the
allegedly, I
Texas
don't know.
game too. I mean, it's just
Yes, he did.
it's bad looks if you're trying to win Heisman. I
love
wonder if that'll
I love it.
rub the voters
I
the
love
wrong
it.
way, though. You know,
Fair enough. We have the Army Navy game and conference title games left to go. We have 12 games. Luke trails Michael by 2. I trail Luke by 2. There are 12 games. And the only reason Chase isn't pictured here because he's not in the punishment picture. But he's done pretty well in his pick'ems, even as a guest picker. So shout out Chase. But
It's nervous, man.
I am so nervous with 12 games left to go.
I know.
I am in red hot territory for this punishment. I want to flip the standings so bad. I would love it if it was my little brother.
Oh, Michael had to go do this. Like that would be.
He hasn't even been thinking about punishment for like the last 9 weeks. I want him to think about it real hard. Pause. Dogs of the week. We got a trio of Texas University stars. Freshman, running back, Caleb Hawkins of the University of North Texas. Freshman, true freshman, 25 carries, 186 yards, 4 touchdowns in a dominant win for North Texas, 52-24. Love to see it. Luke, you also went with the Mean Green.
Yes, I went with Drew Mestemaker. Points 24, 360, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, dude didn't play in high school. That's like insane to me. I'm assuming he went to some big Texas powerhouse to where there's 5 stars ahead of him. But I mean, he still did not play in high school, like on the varsity level, and that is an absurd stat line. So that's
Yes,
why he's
it
my
is.
dog of the week.
We have all 7 of North Texas touchdowns between these two players, which is insane.
Yeah.
Chase, obviously, this is your dog, and I agree.
well, first I want to touch on Mestemaker. I mean, his story is absolutely incredible. What he's done. This dude was the punter on his high school team. He did not take a single snap at quarterback the entire time. The only time he played quarterback was when he was on JV. Now, touching on my dog of the week, Contravion Wisner, 19 carries, 155 yards, and 2 receptions for 19 yards. Was easily the only source of offense for Texas for the majority of that game till the fourth quarter. And Texas had not had a 100-yard rusher all season. And how about it to, come in the last game of the regular season against your in-state rivalry? So, shout out to Contravion Wisner.
Yeah, Wisner did pop off. Top 25 for the end of the regular season. Swiss Army Sports. Number 1 team, OHIO, Ohio State, stays at number 1 after the win of the game. At number 2, still maybe the most prolific offense in college football.
I think they're the best team.
I think they are
but
too.
I think they will beat Ohio State. So, but we'll see.
We'll get to see.
Yeah.
We will get to see in the Big Ten title game. Indiana embarrassed Purdue, and they will stay at 2. Georgia, not the greatest showing, but beats Georgia Tech, moves up to 3.
Rivalry game. I mean,
Just Tech blanks West Virginia, 49-0, moves to 4. Oregon survives a tough game on the road against Washington, number 5. Ole Miss at number 6 after winning the Egg Bowl. 7 drops A&M. 8 Notre Dame, 9 Oklahoma, and 10 Alabama all stay as they were last week. 11 the Vanderbilt Commodores after beating previously Swiss Army Sports ranked number 18 Tennessee. 12 BYU drops as a result. 13 up is Texas. Big jump for the Longhorns from 17 in our poll to 13. 14 consequently drops Miami. 15 consequently drops Utah.
Utah also did not look good this week.
No, they did not. They haven't looked good back-to-back weeks
Yeah.
against 2
Very, very bad names.
non-bowl eligible teams. Virginia, 16. Has stayed 16 for as long as I freaking can remember making this graphic. Same for USC at 17. Michigan, back to where they were for like 5 weeks at the beginning of the year at 18. Tulane up to 19. JMU 20. North Texas 21. Welcome back to the poll. Arizona at 22. Navy, welcome back to the poll at 23. Houston, welcome back to the poll at 24. And it took them 14 weeks But after 14 weeks, UNLV has made their first appearance in the Swiss Army Sports Top 25 at 25. Receiving votes, we had 2 teams, 4 points for Georgia Tech and 1 point for Missouri. The penultimate college football playoff bracket. This is how I see the committee having it. 1, Ohio State. 2, Indiana. 3, Georgia. 4, Texas Tech with the byes. I believe Oregon will be 5th, playing number 12, Tulane being the G5 auto qualifier. I have Texas A&M falling to 6 and 11 being the ACC presumed champion. Now we'll get into what happens if that's not the case. But I think it'll be Texas A&M and Virginia on our TVs on Tuesday. As a result of what has happened over this past 24 hours, I have Notre Dame moving to 7, playing Bama 10, and Ole Miss dropping to 8, playing Oklahoma 9. Now, you're going to have the argument thrown out there. What about Florida State those few years ago when they did not make it because their quarterback got hurt? Is it the same situation with Lane Kiffin leaving their program and having an interim, well, now permanent head coach, but is effectively an interim head coach moving into the playoff? I think no, not to the extent of dropping them out. Yes, I think they get slightly punished in the ranking for not having their head coach. My first 2 out, unfortunately, heartbreakingly, I hope Alabama gets 50-pieced by Georgia in the SEC championship game. If this is the case, Vanderbilt and then Texas. Luke, how do you see it?
So I think top 4 for everyone's going to be the same. Ohio State 1, 2 Indiana, 3 Georgia, 4 Texas Tech. I've got Oregon at 5 playing Tulane. I don't think they punish Ole Miss. I think that's completely unfair. The DC has had coaching experience at the Power 5 level before. I'm pretty sure he's a Florida coach, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw something. That might have been some random graphic. I swear I saw something on Twitter. I might have gotten settled.
And you may have gotten centelled. Hold on, we are going.
While he's doing that.
First off, Delta State alum. That's pretty elite. This is his first head coaching gig.
Then I got settled.
He is never even close to Florida.
Oh, bang. I got settled then. But still, I don't think it's fair to punish them. If you had guys transferring out, yes, I would completely get punishing them. I don't think they can punish them for coach leaving. So I just, if that's going to be the case, they need to make it to where if he is going to leave, like if you're going to have this coaching carousel thing, they need to have a thing. They need to move back National Signing Day until after the season so that they can do whatever and get his own stuff. So that you sign at Ole Miss and then Kiffin leave. So, I mean, I think that needs to be addressed and fixed. But I got them at 6. And then, like we said, presumably you would think this would be UVA since Miami can't auto-qualify anymore. I got Notre Dame at 8, Oklahoma at 9. I got A&M dropping to 7 to play Bama, who is going to be by 10. And then I have Vandy as my first team out, but I have BYU. I think Texas could creep up here, but I don't think you can do it with one loss BYU right now. If they go to the conference championship and obviously lose like we think they will, yes, Texas will be there. But Texas has 3 losses. They went to overtime.
Went to Florida.
And State. They've obviously got the great wins. But you lost to freaking Florida. And I just think that's the death wish.
They did lose to Florida, went to overtime and won by 3 against Kentucky, and really should have lost to a 5-7 Mississippi State team.
And it's going to be like the same thing with Bama. It's going to be the Florida State thing. That's literally what's killing them.
100%. Chase, oh my Lord, oh my God, I didn't want to see it, and I've seen.
So
it.
we'll go
Yeah,
through this.
better,
Obviously,
go through it.
Ohio State's the best team in the country right now on paper. I love what Indiana's doing. I would have loved to put Indiana at 1. I think after this week they will be number 1 in the country. I love what Cignetti's doing there, and I think they're the most complete team with the best quarterback in the country. Got Georgia at 3, a little shaky this week. I was not in love with how Gunnar Stockton played against Georgia Tech, but ended up getting the win in a rivalry game. Tech looked phenomenal this week. Honestly, toyed with moving them up to 3, but Georgia does have, better results. And then Oregon at 5, think that's pretty self-explanatory. Then Tulane's going to slot in there at 12 as my group of 5 champion. Right now, Virginia is in the ACC spot, but we could see potentially Duke winning and making it pretty interesting. I don't think that they're going to punish.
Hell would break loose.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to punish Ole Miss because, Ole Miss has looked great all season and they're deserving of that 6th spot, even though they don't have their head coach. I'm just not uberly convinced that they're going to punish Ole Miss because, this is a good team and a good roster. And then I have Notre Dame sitting there at 8, Bama at 9. Not honestly, have not loved the way Alabama's finished the season, so could it easily have slid in another team here, but probably the one that everybody's going to talk about. I have Texas A&M at 7, only falling to 7. I think that Notre Dame, the win over Notre Dame keeps them ahead of Notre Dame, but then Texas at 9-3, making that last at-large spot. And I probably am homing a little bit here, but let me explain to you.
Really?
They've beaten OU and Vanderbilt. Those are the 2 teams that I have my first teams out. Texas played OU at a neutral site. We have to remember that. At a neutral site where the stadium is split in half OU, half Texas. We can say what you want about Mateer being hurt, but Mateer has looked the exact same since his hand injury. He's looked that way for the rest of the season. This OU offense is atrocious. And yes, they're 10-2, but they looked horrendous against LSU. LSU should have finished this team off.
No, they should have.
LSU
so my only question for you,
if it's not a busted coverage on Satania running, just a go ball, if the safety runs with him, I mean, OU is out of this picture and probably sitting there at 16 or something. And then Texas, and I know you're going to say they only beat them by 3, but Texas going into the 4th quarter was up 34-10 on Vanderbilt. Pulled a lot of their players. They had injuries in the secondary. Honestly, just got really complacent. Like they thought the game was over. It was 34-10 with like 11 minutes left. They dominated Vanderbilt. And say what you want about that, but we have the results to show that Texas has dominated both these teams. Texas has 3 top 10 wins. No team's done that since LSU. And you can say, well, their losses are terrible. Well, the Swamp is always going to be a tough place to play at. And
4-8.
I understand that.
4-8.
But
by the way,
Will, if you're looking at that roster, are you telling me that's a 4-8 team?
Look, I'm just telling you right now, y'all lost to the same team that lost to South Florida.
I don't disagree. But if you look at that roster before the season, is that a 4-8 team?
I refuse to answer the question. I mean, here's my thing. I don't have a problem with Texas at 10, to be honest with you. What I have a problem is you knocking Oklahoma out, who beat Bama head-to-head. So you have this head-to-head argument that you've got going for Texas over Oklahoma, but then you have – I just don't think it works. It just doesn't
Let me
work.
explain why, though. OU's looked terrible. I think the Bama win.
Bama's looked awful.
But Bama beat Georgia. OU's best win is over Alabama. Bama beat Georgia. So I feel like that's a little bit different than Texas.
You just answered our own question, though.
If we're honestly saying, I thought Alabama shot themselves in the foot a lot of times against OU. I thought OU was very lucky to beat Alabama in that game. Alabama had the Talty missed field goal
quite a few times in that game.
I just didn't genuinely think that. I don't think OU is a good football team. They have a great defense. That offense is worse than a lot of Group of 5 offenses. Like I would probably take, I'd take like even a USF offense over this Oklahoma offense right now if I'm wanting to win a championship with that defense. So
it's fair enough. I don't disagree with that. Luke, anything to add here?
No, I'm just kind of on the same boat. OU beat Bama at Bama, and they're not over Bama. And then another thing about Texas is they cannot win on the road. And where do you go for your first playoff game?
On the road.
On the road.
They're going to College Station by his bracket. And by the way,
they're winning.
You better hope that this isn't the case, but A&M may beat them by 20.
Yeah, because if you look at Texas, lost at Florida, should have really lost at State, almost lost at Kentucky. Anytime they go on the road, they struggle. And I still don't think you can put a 3-loss team in here.
What was the score with Louisville and Kentucky this week? Was it 41-0?
Yeah, no. Louisville thumped Kentucky
And how do we see Louisville in comparison to Texas?
Oh, they're nowhere near.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we got that out. So, look, I get what you're saying. We're just kind of poking fun of you because you're a Texas fan. But
Seriousness, the Florida loss is going to be y'all's.
it's the kryptonite. It's you can't lose to
I
Florida.
don't disagree. And I do think that's
So-
probably what the committee will look at to hold him out. So
Yeah.
The bubble gets refined. No chaos, pretty much, other than Texas beating A&M, which again gives us something to talk about. I think BYU, unless they beat Texas Tech, is effectively out of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think Miami is effectively out of the conversation. I do not know how the committee will see that. Utah is 100% out of the conversation. Vanderbilt will, at minimum, jump them this week. They should not have been jumped by Utah in the beginning. That's my number one gripe with the whole thing. But I think it probably will be Vandy, BYU, and Texas being those three teams that could maybe vie for that 10 spot if Bama were to get blown out. The more I look at it, the more I don't see it changing, though, which kind of sucks. But because they've said they don't care about conference title games, which I think is dumb.
They don't. That was their whole thing last year. That's the whole reason SMU got in last year was because they made the conference championship.
Did they learn?
So I mean, here's another thing. If BYU beats, what's it called?
Texas
Tech,
Bama's
and
gone.
then Bama loses, or even if Bama, Bama loses. They're going to put in BYU over Vandy. So, and then all the craziness happens. What if Bama beats Georgia again? What do you do with Georgia?
Well, I mean, they're going to be in the playoff.
I know,
double the seeding.
Gonna, absolutely kind of host someone because it's going to be like Ohio State last year. They're going to have to be what's the highest seed they can be, or they'll end up being like a 7 or something, and you'll end up being the number 2 seed coming off your bye. Or whatever, and you'll
play Georgia.
So,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
Should be interesting. The bubble refined this week. Not a lot of movement available anymore. So let's get into a little bit of a fun thing here. We got the Mount Rushmore of months. So you got to think about everything that encompasses with that month when we post this out. And per usual, going to Siri. So Chase, you finished last in our last unposted. You finished last across Twitter and Instagram voting. Our last posted Mount Rushmore. So you get to pick the number first. What's your number?
I'm gonna go with 7.
7. Luke, you finished second. What's your number?
Go with
3.
It'll be every 5, but I'm going to go 3.
I'm gonna go 8.
8. Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 10. Y'all can't see it. It's 9.
Every single one of these.
So I'll go first. Chase will go second. Luke will go last. My number one overall pick. It's tough. Yeah, and you got to encompass everything. And this is such a hard pick, being number 1. Would have rather been not number 1. I've got to go December. Christmas. I love snow. So, snow. You get peak college basketball. You get conference championship games. All right, December is my first pick. You get peak conference college basketball. You get bowl games, college football playoff, college football conference championship games. You get the heat of the NFL playoff race. You get Christmas, you get snow, you get all the things that encompass with Christmas. You get to go see lights, you get the movies, all the warm feelings, fuzzy feelings you get with Christmas. You get gifts. That's pretty elite. So I'm going to take December. That pivots to number 2. So, Chase.
I want to clarify something real quick. Is this sports calendar or is this just in general?
Just anything.
Just anything?
This is month.
Okay,
Now, we are a sports podcast, so that's why I'm taking sports into account of my month. Absolutely.
But it's just in general?
In general.
Okay, well, then I'm going to go with July. I think it's the best time of the year. You're out of school. You get to be, you got time with the boys, time to do a lot of things. You can be outside all day long. It's the best time of the year to go swimming. You can go fishing, anything. It's a great time to be outside. You also got, I mean, you're in the thick of MLB baseball. This year we're gonna have the World Cup this summer, so you're gonna have the biggest sporting event going on in the world in July with the World Cup final, which is the biggest event in across all sports. Now you are missing football and you are missing basketball,
This
but
is what me and my dad called the sports dead period.
it
which
is the sports dead
July.
period.
But
It's the gambling no period.
But it is the best time to be outside, to travel, to pretty much do anything that you want to do because you have the most time off in this month. It's hot, go to the beach. It's just a great time to be alive.
I understand your argument. Come spend a month of July in Memphis, and you will absolutely change your mind. Luke, what's your first pick?
I'm gonna go with October.
Great month. My birthday.
I
Bang.
so I think October. You got Halloween. You know, you get to eat candy, get fat. You get MLB playoffs, the NBA, the NHL, college football is in the peak conference scheduling. You have the NFL. I think it's the best month. Out of all the sports months, I think October is right up there with my next pick, and I am only picking my next pick
I know what you're taking.
because of March.
You gutted me. You gutted me.
Because the tournament is so elite, and I just think it's the best tournament in sports. Like we have 4 TVs in our house strictly for this like tournament, and I mean you still got some baseball. I think college baseball stuff is coming to an end, or it's like starting to ramp up in the college.
In March,
or
it's
in
like we're getting into conference play in March.
conference play, yeah. So you're ramping up conference play, but just college basketball. It's the greatest tournament.
It is.
That is strictly why March is my number 2. And it's the springtime. I mean, the weather starts getting a little bit warmer. It's not freezing cold. So,
Fair enough. Chase.
I'm going to go with November. I think this is the best time for college football in the entire month. I mean, in the entire window. You've got rivalry weekend here. A lot of things getting figured out with the playoff, a lot of different things getting decided. This is also the peak of the NFL season. I think Thanksgiving week is what makes November so great. You get a lot of good food, time off, and this is when you get to really sit down and watch the best football of the year on Thanksgiving. Then you have rivalry weekend after we just went through that, and you get to spend a lot of time with families. So you can't beat that. And also you're coming up on December, which of course will took, but you're coming up on the best month out of the year. So I mean, it's a great time to be alive. People already got their Christmas decorations up. The time's feeling festive. The weather's changing. It's a beautiful time of the year. So I'm gonna go with November.
My second pick is going to be May. May is the beginning of summer. You're getting to now you have MLB baseball's back. You'll have the end of the UFL for, the Swiss Army. We care about everything. You've got, and this is really what hammers home May for me. It's warm outside. You're starting to go on vacations. You've got Memorial Day. You're going to the beach. But what's during this time that would really get me fired up? The Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the best professional sports playoff there is. It's the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup gets me going every year. It's the only sport playoff that I like professional. I will religiously, and I guess I'm not really counting the NFL here. It's really between NBA, MLB, and NHL because NFL is just one game. I will watch every game of every series of the Stanley Cup playoff. It's the most electric thing in sports, greatest trophy in sports. All starts in May, which leads me into my second pick, June. I think June is what July wants to be. June, you still have the Stanley Cup playoffs. You have the MLB. It is not, again, we live in Memphis, sweating your balls off hot yet. Like, it's not just miserable. You can't just not go outside. Again, if you're in school, you've got time off. It's like the heart of your summer is June. Everyone's having a good time in June. You're outside. You get to go play a little wiffle ball. Go get some snow cones from Jerry's. I think June is an elite month. Also, the birth month of my father, and if you're in Memphis, another hit home for us. It's the month of the St. Jude Classic, which is it's a big deal around here. So love June. Oh, also in June, the NBA Finals. So
Oh yeah, it is.
yeah, June elite month. Chase, pick number 3.
I'm gonna go with January here. I think
Great pick. That's a great pick.
It's very slept
was mine.
on, but this is football.
No, it wasn't even slept on. It was between June and January. That's a great pick. Got to give it to you.
It's extremely slept on because this is championship. This is the championship time for football. This is when we start getting conference basketball in college, and then you're gonna have the NFL playoffs are going on here. You've got the college football playoffs wrapping up here, and half of the New Year's Six bowl games are going to be going on here. So great time to be a sports fan. Then also you're going to have the Premier League's going to be in full form at this point over if you're a big soccer fan. Also Champions League action is going to be going on. NHL is going to be in full form here too. NBA, you could pretty much pick any sport that you want to watch. And also you have the Winter Olympics this year. So that's another great reason to pick January.
January is loaded. Also going back on my December pick, first overall, there's another reason why the World Cup of Darts, or not World, the World Dart Championship at the Pally Alley, it's undefeated. You need to watch it if you haven't. We watch it every New Year's now. It's probably the most electric thing you can weirdly bet on. So bet and watch darts. Luke, I need your 3rd and 4th.
It's tough. I'm gonna go August because it's my birthday. And your starting sports, I mean, granted, we all hate.
Oh yeah, football's on the horizon now.
We all hate school, but I mean, it is the start to a new year. You're going back to school. It's still hot as crap. For me, again, is coaching. Is like obviously we start in July, but you really get into the thick of it with the pads and my little middle school team. You get to that stuff in August, so that's why I think August would be my next pick. And then I'm gonna go with April, strictly for the Masters and golf. I love watching golf. It is very entertaining sport, even though like I don't like to play it because it's probably the most rage-inducing thing I've ever done in my life. But I love watching golf. I love betting on golf. I think it's really entertaining what some of these dudes can do with the ball, But hey, it's a great time outside. You got Easter. I mean, your family get to have that nice ham, possibly. So I'm gonna go with April.
Well, there's 12 picks, Chase. There's only 12 months. So is it September or February for you?
I think, Luke, you massively missed on September. I think September is what you think August is. September's when you get the start of college football, pro football, soccer's back. You're going to be in the thick of the MLB playoff race and part of the playoffs. It is a great sports month. You're going to have, the scrimmages for college basketball. You're going to have preseason for NBA and NHL. It is a great time to watch sports in September. And I mean, this is the best time to watch college football. We get tuned back into the schedule, and in September you get a lot of non-conference blockbuster matchups, which hopefully they don't take away in the coming future. But September's a great month to watch sports, watch football, and kind of get back into the tune of the sports calendar.
So you gave me February, and when you picked January, you mentioned the Winter Olympics. However, you obviously are not versed enough on the Winter Olympics to know that they're February 6th through 22nd. All right. Bye. That is in my month. That is now my last defaulted pick. Let me tell you what also is in February. The Super Bowl. Yeah. Let me tell you another thing that's awesome in February. The Daytona 500. And it is the Super Bowl of NASCAR and all of motorsports. Nothing gets me more juiced than cars turning left at 220 miles per hour, going fast, drafting on each other. And I love NASCAR. I also used to race cars, so I'm a little bit biased there. You get a little shoddy. It's Valentine's Day, man. February is very slept on. Also, shortest month of the year. Yeah. So it doesn't even drag on for you. And it gives you the excitement of a leap day. So loving my February pick that just fell in my lap. And that concludes our Mount Rushmore of months of the year draft. As we dive into the NFL. Thanksgiving. We had the Packers go on the road and beat the Amon-Ra St. Brownless Lions. The producer on the Packers, us three on the Lions.
I also want to throw something out. I completely forgot it was Toyotathon. Have you seen Jordan Love in Toyotathon versus when it's not Toyotathon? He plays like an MVP during Toyotathon, and he plays like a bum when it's not Toyotathon. So just another thing out there that to look forward to.
I had no idea about the
Toyotathon
Jordan Love Toyotathon lore.
Well, I'll look up the stats while you're
Please. Unless something we could all get fired up about here. The 3:30 game on Thanksgiving. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, their little fiance and wife, Brittany and Taylor, walked into AT&T Stadium, got dog walked by the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys came in and reassured the NFL that they were not going anywhere. The Cowboys are the hottest team in football. I will stand on business on that. 3 wins in a row against 2 of the Super Bowl teams last year, the Chiefs and the Eagles. The Cowboys are...
I got the stats pulled up. Are you ready? So during Toyotathon, he is 12-5, thrown 28 touchdowns, 2 picks, 68 completion percentage, 110 passer rating. Not during Toyotathon. He is 7-9, 29 touchdowns, 20 interceptions with a 59% completion rating and an 83 passer rating.
Jordan Love needs Toyotathon like he needs water. That is insane.
It is absurd.
Chase, I'll let you touch on this one. Apparently, you saw something we all didn't. The Ravens crapped the bed at home against the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. What'd you see in the Cincinnati team that made you think they could get it done?
No Burrow coming back. That was my biggest key. Joe Burrow has historically played very well against the Ravens, and I just felt like, I'm not overly impressed with what this Ravens team has done this season. And I thought people were getting a little too hyped about, this Ravens team being a playoff team and a contender. And I figured, Joe Burrow's going to come in with, nothing to prove, play his butt off, which he did. And they're going to go in there and beat the Ravens. So I was pretty impressed with Joe Burrow in that game.
I was also impressed by the lack of offense the Ravens had against a terrible Bengals defense.
Their sack leader on their team has 2.5 sacks.
That's terrible.
It's insane.
The Bears. The producer and Luke had the Bears over me and Chase having the Eagles. The Bears went into Philly and took care of the business on Black Friday. The Bears, they are now leading the NFC, which is absolutely insane.
Ben Johnson, man, that man gave Chicago free hot dogs.
Yeah, they did. The Niners beat perfect timing, as we all thought they would, except one person. The Jaguars took care of business against the Titans. We all missed on the Colts, who have fallen hard back to earth.
I think part of that is, too, the Texans are rolling.
And I want to say that the
Colts.
officials absolutely stole this game from the Colts. Absolutely stole this game. There was a missed extra point that they called a make. There was
I saw
a
that.
PI that Xavier Hutchinson completely flopped. Didn't even get touched by the Colts defensive back. It was 3rd down and 10. By the way, it was a tie ball game at this point. I think it was 13-13 and 3rd down and 15 or something like that. Obviously spot foul. They get a first down. 2 plays later, Texans are in the end zone. If they don't, they end up kicking that field goal. Colts go down and they kicked another field goal. Colts end up probably winning this game. So absolutely.
Must have missed that.
It was a horrendous officiating there. Colts fans were booing for the last 20 minutes of this game. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious.
That's unfortunate because the Colts really have been rolling as of late. There we go. Yeah, this has been terrible today. I think they're watching a movie, that's why. The Fish took care of business, kind
They
of.
should have
lost this game.
Tyler Shuck, I was watching this game. Tyler Shuck threw a pick 6 or a pick 2 that essentially lost them the game because then when they got the onside kick, they had to go score. If they would have just gotten the onside kick and he didn't throw the pick 2, I mean, it's a 4-point swing essentially, and that's why they lost. The Saints really should have won this game. Shuck actually looked solid.
Yeah, they did. The Shuck has not been as bad as we thought he was gonna be.
No, yeah.
The Jets are trying to ruin their draft position. They walk it off against the Falcons. Bijan Robinson played like he was on crack, though. Unbelievable game from Bijan. The Buccaneers get back on the right track finally. Thank God. We are Baker fans on this podcast. They beat the Cardinals. Oh,
So stupid.
it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Do not bet on a game that involves the Carolina Panthers because I had a 6-game parlay today. I missed my one leg. Can you guess which leg that was? I had the Rams money line. Didn't even take the spread. Took a minus 530 on the money line to be a little bit of a booster leg. Apparently, I got absolutely cup checked by the Carolina Panthers.
So did I.
Which, I mean, I could not believe what I was looking at. Although this really kind of messes with the Cowboys playoff picture. 7-6 Carolina. We currently have a tiebreaker over them because of that tie.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. Does the tie actually
Winning
help
percentage, yes.
us? Okay. Even though they have the head-to-head.
Yeah. The Vikings offense has not scored a touchdown in 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
I can't even remember his name. And the quarterback for the
Bosmer?
Vikings. Yeah, Boz. Okay, so let's call him Boz, just to keep it short. Boz was rolling out of the pocket on 4th and 1 on the goal line against the Seahawks today. It was funny enough to where me and Chloe laughed at the commentator, and he's like, all right, he rolls out. He heaves it. Oh, no, it's going the other way. And, like, you just see the Seattle defender just come into frame with the football running the I was like, oh, my God, it's going to be a pick six. It surely was. Interestingly enough, and like I said, I thought the Vikings, 5 years, 33.5 million.
6.7 a year. It's the same. Isn't that the dude who went on the show and literally did 6?
Yeah. Juracek. Yes. The Vikings defense is so elite. They only gave up 1 touchdown against the Seahawks in this game.
Jason sold by parlay. And I only took him at like 60 yards.
Bills rolled over the Steelers. Chargers rolled over the Raiders.
Herbert is having surgery on this though, or his hand. Or
It's
something.
his non-throwing hand though, which is key. Yes, key to add.
Twitter did not specify that.
Non-throwing hand. Broncos are playing the Commies currently, and then tomorrow night we have the Pats and the Giants. Teams of the week and teams that are weak. My team of the week is the Dallas Cowboys. Very obvious why. 1, all of our favorite teams. 2, they are absolutely rolling, and they beat the defending Super Bowl champs and the defending Super Bowl runner-up in back-to-back weeks. They're my team of the week. And my now your week, you only scored 14 points against the Bengals. You are absolutely garbage. So the Baltimore Ravens are my now your week. Luke.
I got Panthers. They're my team of the week.
They are constantly on this list.
They are. And it's either, I guarantee you next week, if they play someone bad, they'll drop it, and they'll be the now your week for me. So, but they beat the Rams, so I thought were one of the best team in the NFL. So that is why they're my team of the week. And then the Eagles are my team that is weak because, first off, I get their coordinator's bad, but like leaving, I think they were down 10, and like half their fans left the stadium in like the third quarter. And it was like kind of they were booing him from the start. And like I know they're pro athletes, and it probably doesn't affect them as much as say like college, but like when you're getting booed off the field every drive on offense, it's pretty bad. So that is why they're my team that is weak.
Chase.
Well, obviously the Bears taking the top of the NFC now. That is massive. Ben Johnson has done a phenomenal job. Got a huge win over the Eagles. Defense actually looked really good against this Eagles offense too. So Bears might be legit, but they definitely played well this week. And then my weak team of the week, the Colts. I mean, even with the officiating, you've got to find a way to beat a division rival like the Texans. They could have really solidified themselves in the playoff picture with this win. And now with the loss, things get a lot spicier in the AFC South and in the AFC playoff picture.
Yeah, 100%. The Jaguars taking the lead in the NFC South as a result. Dun dun dun.
Dun 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 dun
Dun dun. Dun 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 dun.
dun 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 dun.
Dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun.
Really need to get Michael to put sound right there.
Monday Night Football. the New York Football Giants head to Gillette Stadium and get a fresh shave against the New England Patriots. Best bets for this game. I like the Pats minus 7.5. I think this Giants team is solid, especially with Jackson Dart at the helm. He is back this week. However, this is a Giants team that actually just never really covers on the road. So I like the Pats minus 7.5. And then I like under on 30.5 Dart passing attempts. I think it is, one, it's a lot. He averages 20 a game. Two, I understand the thought process. They're going to be down and he's going to need to pass. However, he doesn't get a lot of time in the pocket, and a lot of his offensive production is on his legs. So I like his under on his passing attempts at 30.5. Luke, let me hear it.
See, that's partially because I do think the Patriots are going to kind of blow them out, and I don't want to put faith in anyone on that Patriots offense because at running back, you really don't know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get Drake May, but you also don't know receivers. Anyway,
It could be Booty, could be Dig.
yeah. I mean, Hunter Henry, there's plenty of guys. So I'm going to take Dart 200 pass yards. I think 200 is a very feasible number. I think he averages 210. They're going to be throwing it a little more just because they're down. I don't think we'll get to the 30.5, but they're going to throw it. So, and then I'm going to take him to get the anytime. I mean, he's got to score. His whole team is just injured and battered. I mean, he does a bunch on the ground. I think he gets in the end zone.
Chase.
I'm going to go with the Patriots money line here. Obviously, you're not going to make a ton of money on this pick, but if you need it to boost your parlay, I would slam this one. I think this is a surefire thing. I don't think that there's any way that this Giants team can beat this Patriots team. That being said, I also think that this game is going, a lot of people probably would think it would be a little bit more of a high scoring game considering who's playing quarterback. I think that's why it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't necessarily know how well Jackson Dart's going to play coming off the concussion. And I think, Patriots offense hasn't been what it was earlier in the season over the last couple of weeks, and they'll still win. They'll still play well, but they're not going to put up the amount of points that is needed to eclipse 47 combined points. So I would take the under on 46 and a half
I love
points.
that underplay. That's a great play. I do like the underplay there. So let's talk about the playoff picture in the NFC. The Bears are atop of the NFC, something I never thought I would utter out of my mouth this season. 2, the Rams at 9-3. 3, the Eagles at 8-4, leading the NFC East, and 4, the Buccaneers leading the NFC South at 7-5. Then you got your wild card teams: the 9-3 Seahawks at 5, the 8-3-1 Packers at 6, and then the 9-4 Niners at 7. In the hunt, first team at the top of the hunt are the Lions at 7-5, then the Cowboys at 6-5-1, and then the Panthers at 7-6. The reason I'm doing this is we're going to do this for the NFC and the AFC. Give me one team in the hunt that will make the playoff, and who are they going to replace in the playoff picture? I'm going to let Chase kick it off.
Well, it's crazy to say this because I would have probably said before this week that I would have thought that the San Francisco 49ers would have been the team that the Dallas Cowboys replaced. I think Dallas is going to be the team from the in the hunt section that will ultimately make the playoffs. And you know what? I think they're going to replace the Eagles. It's crazy to say this because the Eagles, prior to 2 weeks ago, looked like the top dog in the NFC. But the Eagles, I think they have some real issues on offense, and they're going to sputter over these last couple weeks. And I think Dallas honestly has a really good chance of winning out with a win versus Detroit on Thursday. I think this Dallas team wins out. So I could see them taking that NFC East crown back, and I think they replace the Eagles. And maybe the Eagles still get in the playoffs, but I think that the Cowboys will definitely replace the Eagles as top of the NFC
That is an
East.
elite take.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure me and Luke both have the exact same opinion. This Eagles team is faltering, especially on offense. Defense isn't making the stops it was. The Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. I think that is my wholehearted opinion. I do not know if Dallas loses another game this year. So it's up to Philly to not lose 2 games. And the Eagles have the Chargers on the road next week. They've got the Commanders on the road. They've got the Bills on the road. So
I mean, realistically, they just have to drop
the
like,
Chargers
2
and the
games.
Bills.
Yeah. So, and those are 2 very, and I know the Raiders suck, but
And they could realistically split with the Commanders.
yeah, they could. I mean, depending on if Daniels comes back.
Yep.
So, it's very interesting because I also didn't know this. The Raiders have the 13th best defense in the NFL. Which
Yeah.
I found was very shocking. But I guess when Gino throws 10 picks and is leading the NFL reception.
If the Raiders beat the Eagles. Ooh.
Hell
But yeah,
yeah.
we're all in agreement. Great take, Chase. Cowboys in, Eagles out. Now, I think a way more interesting picture is this AFC picture. At top of the AFC currently, and will be no matter what the results are. The New England Patriots at 10-2. The Broncos sit at 9-2. Jaguars lead the AFC South now at 8-4, and what's really the interesting race is going to be this AFC North. The Ravens are at 6-6 atop the AFC North. Wild card 5 Chargers 8-4, 6 Colts 8-4, and 7 Bills 8-4. So now you're kind of getting a grasp of how tight this AFC playoff hunt is. In the hunt, out looking in, Texans 7-5, effectively one game behind on both the division and the wild card. The Chiefs 6-6, starting to let the division slip out of their hands, not quite out of it in the wild card race. Not the same though for these next two teams. Steelers 6-6 could get in the wild card hypothetically, but tied for the top of the division. And then the 4-8 Cincinnati Bengals could win their division. Same thing as last. I'm going to let Lucas start us off this time. Team of the hunt that gets in. Who are they replacing?
Man, I don't think the Ravens are going to get in. It's going to be one of these other AFC North teams. And the Steelers' schedule is so easy. They have to play the Ravens twice still, but like their schedule is insanely easy. And the Bengals too. The Bengals realistically could win out. I'll start with that too. The Bengals have to play the Browns, Cardinals, Ravens, Dolphins, and Bills. If they beat the Bills this week, we're like legitimately looking at a chance where they run the table, get some help, and get in the playoffs. But the Steelers have to play the Ravens, Dolphins, Browns, Ravens, and then the Lions. So if you split with the Ravens, beat the Dolphins and Browns, that's putting you ahead in the divisional. So I'm going to go with my preseason pick of the Steelers getting into the playoffs over the Ravens.
Chase.
It's hard to ignore the Texans. I think the Texans, they've won 4 straight. They have by far the best defense in the NFL. And I hate saying this because that offense is so poor. But when your defense is only allowing, they haven't allowed over 20 points, I think, at about one time this season. This is a elite unit, one of the best defenses I've seen in a while. And I think they end up replacing the Colts. And I hate to say this because I love the Colts. I love Daniel Jones, and I love what they've done this year. But Daniel Jones is banged up, and I don't know if that's necessarily something that's going to go away anytime soon. He had to wear a plate today, and if you watched him, his mobility was very much hindered, which allows you to key in a lot more on Jonathan Taylor. So I think that
100%.
The Texans will probably replace the Colts here, but is it too early to say that the Chiefs probably don't have a shot at making the playoffs?
No, it's not too early. I was hearing that the winner of the Cowboys game and the Chiefs would both one of those teams into the playoffs, and the loser was effectively done.
Yeah.
I do think the Chiefs are effectively done. I think that is very refreshing for me to say. I'm very happy I'm getting to say that. I'll play a little fun here. The Bengals are going to win out, and they're going to win the AFC North. Joe Burrow being back. Yeah, Joe Burrow being back, this offense is firing at full cylinder. They didn't even have T. Higgins available last game when they beat the Ravens. Give me T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, Joe Burrow, and their defense will just have to figure it out against these poor teams. And I also think you're right. I think the Texans wholeheartedly replace the Colts. You're playing on a fractured fibula. Same thing one of our buddies has, and he's in a full boot and 2 crutches. So, and I've had that injury before. It hurts. I don't understand how he's functioning right now. Props to him. I somehow did it too. However, I remember how I was functioning, and it was not great. So I was putting my entire leg in a Home Depot ice bucket every night just to be able to long snap, not let alone play quarterback in the NFL. So I think you're 100% correct. I think Daniel Jones' injury is going to hinder them, and I think the Texans will be able to get in.
I also would not be shocked if the Bills end up dropping. The Bills have a very tough schedule from here on out. I just had it pulled up. Hold on. But yeah, I think have to play the Eagles. If I'm not mistaken, let me pull it up. They have to play the Bengals, the Patriots, the Browns, with the Eagles, and then you have to play the Jets. So, I mean, the Browns with that defense could easily cause trouble for Josh Allen because he's been a turnover machine as of late. So, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills end up going out for the Texans. But it's going to be interesting coming down the stretch.
No, 100%. This AFC playoff picture is shaping up to be great as we pivot to college basketball and our college basketball picks of the week. Michigan State's legit, and Luke had this one right. All the rest of us had it wrong on North Carolina. Duke took care of business against Arkansas. We swept that. St. Louis.
Santa Clara blew that game.
Santa Clara blew this game. St. Louis won by 1. Chase and Michael get on the board with that. Me and Luke lose on Santa Clara. However, the Dayton Flyers win by 5 against the Georgetown Hoyas. Hell no, I didn't watch this game.
I did. Georgetown might not. They can't shoot the three at all. It's honestly very impressive. Dayton is also. So I've just done Georgetown money line. Dayton was in the 300s in 3-pointers made. They hit 10 in this game.
Bang.
The next game against BYU, we had BYU to cover against them. They hit like 11. They won't shoot that like that the rest of the year. But of course, when I have U.S. currency on the other team, they have to shoot lights out. It was insane.
This has been a theme for Luke's college basketball betting this year.
It has.
If they're a 300-plus three-point shooting team, they are going to light it up from downtown if Luke bets against them. Oklahoma State took care of business against Northwestern. UConn took care of business against Illinois, and Texas Tech survived against Wyoming. Michael, 4-3 this week, not as good. Chase, entering the picture for the first time in the college basketball pick'ems, 5-2, very strong showing from you in the first pick'ems. Luke had a good week, and as did I, also at 5-2, which pivots to our overall winning percentage standings because Chase entered late. Moves Chase up to 2 from not even on the board. Michael obviously still in the lead after being on crack the first few weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of went down to earth here. Knocks us 19-2 to 23-5. Chase with a 10% advantage over Luke, who is at 19-9, and then I'm at 18-10. So Chase, stay out of the punishment spot, brother.
Yeah.
You don't want to get there, as am I right now in college football, and you're kind of shitting bricks as the season winds down because you don't want to spend 24 hours in a Waffle House or try to bowl a 300. Although I'm kind of down to try to bowl the 300.
I am too.
So I think that would be fun.
I might partake in the challenge.
I agree. I love it. What a top 25 we have cooked up here in the Swiss Army Sports College Basketball Top 25. One person single-handedly kept Purdue the number 1 team in the country. He is joining us virtually from Houston, Texas. The rest of us had Michigan ranked number 1. They'll sit at number 2 for now. Arizona 3, Duke 4, Louisville staying at 5. Iowa State having a very strong start to the season, all the way up to 6. BYU 7, kind of leveling out where I think they will be the rest of the year. UConn 8, Houston drops from 1 to 9 after getting beat by Tennessee. 10, Michigan State. 11, the Vols. And let's talk about number 12 for a second, guys. Vanderbilt is legit. Struggled a little bit against Western Kentucky. However, beat St. Mary's, who is, like a top 30 kid pop team by like 26. So Vanderbilt is just thrashing their non-conference opponents. It's going to make for and you'll see as I go through the rest of this top 25, it's going to make for a very exciting SEC basketball season when it comes to conference play.
A good game, too. They play SMU next.
Yeah.
And SMU's undefeated as well.
Undefeated, barely escaped Mississippi State in overtime. Gonzaga lost by 40 to Michigan, which has dropped them all the way to 13 in our poll. I think they were at number 4. So that's a 9-spot drop. Bam at 14. IU, led by Tayton Connerway. He has had an unbelievable start to the season at Indiana. They're up to 15. Illinois, the Balkan block at 16. USC stays at 17. Kentucky 18. 19, welcome to the poll, Iowa. 20 falls North Carolina after losing to Michigan State. Welcome to the poll, LSU. Welcome to the poll, Missouri. Baylor staying consistent at 23. I think it's a good Baylor team. They're going to be good in the Big 12 this year. Texas Tech made me a little worried, especially after barely escaping Wyoming. They're at 24. Another single-handedly ranked by one person on this podcast, Kansas at 25, receiving 6 points, receiving votes. Now, this is the most we've had on any poll, football or basketball. We are very split on who should be at the bottom of this college basketball Swiss Army Sports Top 25. 5 points to Florida, missed it by 1. Nebraska had 3. NC State had 3. Clemson 2, who I think is a really underrated basketball team right now, and Auburn with 1 point. Chase, any teams that stand out to you as like surprised that they're here at this point of the season?
Florida was definitely surprising. Very shocked that they're already out of the top 25 considering the team that they have and the roster that they constructed. I expect I've been super impressed with Michigan but I also Purdue. I think Purdue's probably still the best team in the country, but those two, I think they're probably far and clear through the first couple of weeks of the season have been the best teams. Little surprised to see Kentucky as low as they are, considering how good that roster is. But also another shock,
Chase,
Vanderbilt. The Commodores played some really good hoops,
and we can't even see
and they can outscore anybody. So definitely impressed with Vandy being sitting there at 12.
Let's talk about some freaking soccer, buddy. This is all up your alley. Break down the top 10 in the EPL standings for me.
Right. So obviously we've got Arsenal on 30 points right now, clear and away as the title favorites heading into December. Manchester City has faltered over the last couple weeks. They're sitting there in second at 25. Chelsea, though, today with a big draw against Arsenal, they're sitting there at 24 points, looking really good. It's all cluttered all the way from 3 to 9. The top 4 seeds, the bottom 2 are wide open. I think Arsenal and Man City are the only real teams in the title race this year, but from Chelsea, Aston Villa, Brighton, Sunderland, Manchester United, Liverpool, and Palace, all of those teams could make a push for top 4. Liverpool's been absolutely atrocious over the last couple weeks, but they're still sitting there at 21 points. Manchester United got a big win today, and I could see them getting into the top 4 as well. So we'll have to see. Aston Villa over the last couple weeks has been the best team in the Premier League, picking up 12 points out of their last 5 games.
Yeah, I've seen Aston Villa has been hot. I kind of a surprise team for us to be in the top 10 right now, which I guess they're not really in the picture for getting one of these, conference or
Champions League.
Champions League, the Conference League slots. Brentford, a team that has kind of bounced out of the relegation battle, back and forth, being in the Championship and being in the Premier League. Do you think this is just kind of like a hot start from them? Do you not think they can sustain this sort of 19 points through 13 games sort of, momentum? Or are they going to fall back to more of like that 11 to 15 spot, but they're not going to be really in the relegation battle this year?
I actually love what I've seen from Brentford this season. Igor Thiago's been phenomenal up top for them. And then, our U.S. boy Tyler Adams has been bossing the midfield. Brentford's a really good team. I think it is the case of a hot start. They did have a weaker schedule to start the season. I think they probably will cool off, but easily could see them finishing top half, which for, like you said, a Brentford team that's constantly in the relegation battle toward the bottom of the table, this is really big for them. So congrats to Brentford.
100%. Good to see Brentford up there. Now, I am a Wickham Wanderers fan, and they are in EFL League One. However, when I have a Premier League team that's constantly in the Premier League, and that is Tottenham Hotspur. And Tottenham sitting at 12th in the bottom 10 of the Premier League. Not a very inspiring Tottenham team ever since we lost Harry Kane. But especially after we lost Heung-min Son, I just felt like Tottenham really needed to go into an entire rebuild of the entire 11 that they had on the field, sitting at 18 points. So I guess we could kind of make a run at that 6th spot. However, what I really want to talk about the bottom half is what really makes English football fun, and that is the relegation battle. We are going to have 3 teams go down, and I am curious as to who you think those 3 teams are going to be this year, because I absolutely have my opinions on who I think it's going to be.
So first off, I want to apologize. I misspoke on Brentford. Tyler Adams plays for Bournemouth, not Brentford. I confused the 2 teams, but Bournemouth is another team that has obviously played really well. Tottenham has had a bad couple of weeks, but this was a team that was just in the top 4. So I think that's just a product of everything being so clustered. And Tottenham's playing a lot of games right now with them being in the Champions League and doing well in the Champions League. But if we're looking at the relegation battle right now, I think you almost have to guarantee that Wolves goes down being on 2 points.
Yeah, 2 points through 13 games.
Yeah, they're down. They've been the worst team, far and away the worst team in the Premier League this season. They are 100% going down. And then I think you look at, the next 4. Nottingham Forest has played some good games over the last couple weeks, getting a big result. I think it was against Liverpool. Yeah, it was Liverpool. Beat them 3-0. Sean Dyche has come in and absolutely solidified that team. I think Fulham's going to be just fine. And Everton beating Manchester United, all 3 of them are going to be fine. So it's really going to be between West Ham with the new head coach and then Leeds and Burnley. I think it probably ends up being the same because West Ham's too talented. So I think the teams that end up going down are going to be Leeds, Burnley, and Wolverhampton.
Yeah, I see it the same way. I don't think West Ham is untalented enough to go to the championship, which I think would truly ruin what they've built there for the Hammers. I do think Nottingham Forest could find their way into this relegation battle. I think West Ham could surpass Nottingham Forest. But I do agree with you. Wolves are 100% going down, and then I have Leeds and Burnley going down with them to the championship. Tune in, guys. If you're into soccer, next week we're going to talk about the EFL Championship and EFL League One promotion and relegation races. Not going to dip down to League Two quite yet, but let's get into how we end our episodes on the weekend. Best things that happened this weekend. I'll start us off. Thanksgiving dinner was elite. I got to see all my family. Dinner was good. Turkey was nice and not overdone. Sides were elite. I was watching my number 2. The Cowboys win again. 3 wins in a row for the boys. I'm on a cloud 9, thinking we're going to win the Super Bowl again, which is what I love as a Cowboys fan. I'm right at home. And then this coaching drama has just kept me entertained all weekend and just really capping it off with a chaotic Sunday morning. Loved it. And those are my top 3 things that happened this weekend. Luke.
Cowboys winning again. I mean, I hate it, but I also love it because I just know we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to win the first round, and then we're going to either lose in the conference championship or we're going to lose in the divisional, and it's going to be a heartbreaking loss, and it's going to be something that we should have really won. But still, we're back, so that doesn't matter. And gambling, I have been pulling out I'm kind of on a heater. I'm pulling out money. Like, my rule is if I go over 100 on my DraftKings, I pull the remainder out. I've been pulling out $5+ almost every day this week, so I'm somehow making money gambling, which is awesome. And then I've alluded to it last week, I purchased the car. I purchased the Toyota, brand new Toyota Tacoma SRD Sport. It is very nice, and yeah, I purchased it. I have a brand new car.
He did. He drove it over today. It's a sweet looking truck.
Yeah.
Chase, what are your top 3 things that happened?
Well, first off, Luke, congrats on the new car, man. But obviously, what my first one's gonna be. Friday night, Texas beats little brother Texas A&M. That makes my whole year bragging rights for the whole state of Texas for the next 365 days is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Beating OU and Texas and Arkansas back-to-back years, sweeping the 3 of them is phenomenal as a Texas fan. So that made up for the fact that we probably won't get in the playoff, but can't hate on that. And then Cowboys are rolling. I mean, I think all 3 of us are really happy as Cowboys fans right now. I love Coach Schottenheimer. I love the duo.
I did too. I'm so bought into
I
Shoddy.
love Shoddy. I mean, I would love to play for a guy like Shoddy. And when we got the notification that he was going to be our head coach, I was like, really? That's what we're going with? But then after that first presser, I've been completely bought in. This guy is going to be a great coach for the Cowboys for a long time. And I love what Dallas is doing on offense. Defense looks so much better. So much better. And then
it does. Night and day.
Night and day. And then we could be getting the college football playoff doomsday scenario where we could see Duke beating Virginia and a 7-5 Duke be pushing for a auto bid into the college football playoff. So I'd love to see what the committee does there.
We got to talk about this. We'll talk about it on the next episode. Give people something to talk about. If Troy wins, shit hits the fan. I love it. All right. This has been episode 26. A longer one for y'all, but we enjoyed it. And episode 26 is from Summary Sports. This has been Wilk, Luke, and Chase, as always. Signing off. See y'all on Wednesday.